Let us begin quietly. For 7 days, we will not try to improve life. We will not try to fix bodies, balance accounts, or tidy the world with thoughts. We will practice one realization. God is one. Hear it. Let it sound within you as if for the first time. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If God is one, there are not two powers. If God is one, fear is not a power. If God is one, you are not negotiating with disease on Monday and with supply on Tuesday. You are resting in the one presence that neither fluctuates nor bargains. God is one. That is our agreement. Now, do not rush past the simplicity. Do not say, I know that. The letter says those words. The spirit must become the atmosphere. For 7 days, we return to this atmosphere every morning, every noon, every night, and when fear knocks at 3 a.m, God is one. Not as a charm, as a resting, not as a duel, as a surrender. Be still and know that I am God. Be still long enough for knowing to replace argument. Stop arguing with appearances. Stop decorating fear with the dignity of a second cause. In this class, we are not going to fight shadows. We are going to withdraw consent. We are going to watch what fear cannot do when it is no longer credited as power. Set the stakes without drama, for this is not theater. The stake is your peace. The stake is the end of living, as if 2 thrones were in the universe, 2 scepters, 2 judges. When you credit fear, you enthrone an idol. When you withdraw credit, an idol falls of itself. Do not push it. It is only cardboard. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Let that be the banner over these 7 days. We are not going to hurl brave affirmations at conditions. We are going to step aside that the Father may be the Father. Harmony appears by grace, not by might, not by the cunning machinery of your mind. God is. The Lord is. That's all. And we will not walk alone. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. We will make of our daily check-ins, not reports, not spiritual gossip, but an altar of united consciousness. One sentence, today I return to one power, is enough to join our awareness in a single flame. Do you see? This is not social pressure. It is communion. As a city is spared for the sake of 10 righteous, a household is made quiet when 2 in that household agree on one power. In our agreement, the burden lightens, not because we lift it, but because it dissolves in the presence of the one. I am asking for discipline, but not strain. No emotional highs, no proof hunting, no rehearsal of human cleverness. A daily return, like breath, like the psalmist who whispers, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and then ceases from wanting to see if the shepherd may lead. When appearances rise, and they will, do not plead your case before them. Hold your peace. Let your tongue rest behind closed lips. Hold those teeth together until the wind of panic passes. Then, inside, not out loud, let the premise stand. God is one. And we wait, not 5 seconds, long enough for the mind to tire and the heart to open. For 7 days, this is our work. Stop, agree, return. Withdraw power from fear by refusing it the courtesy of argument. Let oneness be a simple atmosphere, not a project. Take no thought for your life. Can you do that for a moment? Who, by taking thought, can add a cubit to his stature? Who can add an hour to his day? But in the silence, the Father adds what the Father adds and takes no counsel from our worry. God is one. Therefore, fear is not a power. Hold to that gently, steadily, and we shall watch what cannot stand before it. Melt away like mist before the sun you cannot see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or think. Yet you know it warms you. We have our agreement. Now let us understand its substance. There are two parts to this work: the letter of truth and the spirit of truth. The letter is indispensable. It gives your mind a map, a vocabulary, a doorway. But the letter cannot heal. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. If you carry the letter like a banner and never pass through the door into silence, you have words without life, phrases without presence. The words God is one point. They are not the thing they point to. The healing is not in the syllables. The healing is the silent consciousness behind them. Consider how easily we are trapped. We repeat God is one as a slogan. And at the same time, we bow to disease, lack, or conflict by treating them as powers to be appeased. We say, God is one, and look over our shoulder for the symptom's verdict. Which God, then, do we honor? Who, by taking thought, can add peace to a frightened mind? Who, by a rapid string of affirmations, can add a cubit to his stature, make one hair black or white, steady a room full of racing nerves? Who, by squeezing a phrase, can wring harmony from fear? You know the answer. The Master said, I can of mine own self do nothing. That includes your thinking self, your best phrases, your most polished treatments. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy. Then you can cease from doing and let the Father within do the works. The words are necessary only as a key. They are not the treasure chest. To say God is one is to stand on the threshold. Do not set up a camp on the threshold. Open the door. Step into the stillness. Be still and know that I am God. Do not try to know while speaking. Do not try to know while arguing with appearances. Stop. Stop. Say it once as you would lift a latch. God is. Then silence. Let your tongue rest. Let your thoughts slow. Wait until the engine of personal effort winds down. In that quiet, not the quiet you force, but the quiet that arrives when you cease. The Spirit bears witness to the words you used and then dropped. I knew a man who paced the hospital corridor whispering, God is one. God is one. And his heartbeat answered. But the chart, the prognosis, the rushing feet. He wore out his tongue and wore out his nerves. Finally, I said, sit. Put your hands open on your knees. Say it once. Then do not add, let God be God. He thought he was doing nothing. How proud is the human mind that calls receptivity nothing. And in that surrender, the noise in him subsided. A nurse came by. There's a calming we can't explain. Of course they could not explain. Harmony doesn't come by might or by power or by a mind map. Harmony comes by grace. Not the word grace, but the grace itself. Do you see? As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom. Good thoughts can beautify the cage, but they cannot open it. Thought is not power. God is power. You cannot warm your hands by saying sun. You must turn your face toward the sun you cannot see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or think, and yet it warms you. The phrase God is turns your face. Turning is your part. Warming is God's. So the aim of our 7 days is not better affirmations. It is less doership, more receptivity. My thoughts are not your thoughts, says the Lord. Do not replace fear thoughts with faith thoughts and imagine you have crossed the sea. Let both subside. Treat God as omniscient, not as a consultant. Do not brief God on conditions. Do not advise God on remedies. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. The words make the introduction. The peace is found in the acquaintance. Practice this way. When you rise, when you pause at noon, when you lie down, say within yourself, once, perhaps twice, God is one, and then retire into stillness. Guard the lips. Hold those teeth together. Let the heart become a little empty cup. If fear speaks, do not answer it. Withdraw its dignity by refusing debate. Return to the hush. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Let the shepherd lead. Let the door be a door. Do not worship the door. Step through, and there, in the gentle absence of your effort, you will discover that the life behind the words is the life itself, and it does the work. Let us be very plain. Spiritual progress begins at the point where you are very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy, not vague, not embarrassed, firm. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Until that is more than a verse, until it is a settled admission, you will keep a private idol. The idol of my capacity, my practice, my ability to make life safe. Do you see the subtlety? The self-improver bows before the same false altar as the self-doubter. Both worship a second power called me. The remedy is not to sculpt a stronger me. The remedy is to let me be still long enough for the Father to be the Father. Be firm in your inadequacy and you will feel an exhale you have been postponing for years. It is relief, not defeat. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. If by might, then I must strain. If by spirit, I may rest and receive. My grace is sufficient for thee. Sufficient means enough now, here. Not poetic sufficiency, not a framed promise over the desk operative sufficiency that feeds you as manna fed in the wilderness, that calms the storm without consulting your seamanship. Grace becomes practical when the doer resigns. There is a hidden pride in our busyness with God. We count pages, schedule periods, inventory words, and quietly believe that the ledger of my practice must finally compel a result. Who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? Who by improved journaling can turn winter into spring? Who by repeating a brighter sentence can make one hair black or white? Stop. Stop. Do not imagine that a perfected human method is the light of the world. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. A sheep does not diagram the pasture. It follows, it rests. Now here is the internal movement that opens the door. Let me turn this over now to the Father. Let me feel thy presence. Do not embroider it. Say it once within, not out loud. Then hold those teeth together. Put away the shopping list of needs and remedies. Be still and know that I am God. Say quietly, God is. Then silence. You have announced your inadequacy and your trust. You have surrendered the case to the only court that is not divided. Remain on the receiving end. Treat God as omniscience, not as a consultant who requires your briefing. For this week, this is our posture. We do not fight error. We withdraw belief in a second power. Every time you square off, you enthrone an opponent. Refuse the duel. Name fear and nothingness, not by bravado, but by non-recognition. If it speaks, do not answer. If it postures, do not salute. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. Acquaintance dissolves arguments the way light dissolves darkness, without debate, without apology, without hurry. I knew a woman who believed her diligence must save her business lists, calls, midnight plans, pleading prayers. She told me, if I stop, everything falls. I said, then stop and let everything false fall. She sat, whispered once, Father, I can of my own self do nothing. Do thou the works, and kept her lips closed. In that quiet, she was no longer a foreman bullying life. A strange thing happened. The email chains that screamed crisis lost their bite. A client, long silent, answered without persuasion. The tightened chest softened. She could not have engineered that sequence. She did not. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. You cannot see this presence. Hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it announces itself by the simple absence of strain. The tongue grows quiet, the forehead smooths, the will backs away, a hush comes. In that hush, grace becomes a working law, not theory, law. You do not make the sun rise, you face it. You do not create grace, you cease to hinder it. God is one. Therefore, there is no second cause to placate, no rival to outthink, no mountain to move by rhetoric. So each time this week you feel the impulse to fix, to beg, to prove, halt, be very firm. I can of my own self do nothing. Then, without self-pity and without heroics, turn, Father, here it is. Be thou the light. Say God is. Then silence. Let the Father within do the works. And watch how practical grace is when you stop being important and start being receptive. In that surrender, harmony appears not by might, not by your improved method, but by grace. Now I must place into your hands the simplest instrument you will ever carry. 2 words. God is. Not as a charm, not as a battering ram, as finality. A gavel on the bench of consciousness that ends argument with appearances. Say it once within, not with the lips, God is. Then silence. Do not add, do not embroider, do not follow it with a catalog of needs or a strategy for outcomes. Stop, stop. If the mind rushes forward to negotiate, let the rush pass you by as wind passes a tree. The branch doesn't chase the wind. It yields and remains. Take this as procedure. When you come to prayer, first do nothing. Close the door. Yes, the Master said, enter thy closet. And when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Shut the door of the lips too. Hold those teeth together. Let your tongue fall out before you speak to God. Place your hands open upon your knees, not as a ritual, but as a sign that you will not clutch. Breathe once without counting. Now, say within, God is. Then do not help God. Do not advise God. Do not report conditions to omniscience. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. Your asking is the turning of the face, not the telling of the tale. You cannot see this presence, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it is. The two words are not the presence. They are the latch on the door. Once the latch is lifted, step in, be still, and know that I am God. Not be busy and know. Not be eloquent and know. Be still. The stillness is the prayer. True prayer puts you on the receiving end of God, not the instructing end. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions. Do not think that by your many words you will move the infinite. Harmony doesn't come by might or by power. Harmony comes by grace. Make room for grace by ceasing to occupy the room with speech. How will you know you are doing this rightly? You will feel the compulsion to fix grow faint, like a bell receding down a street. The forehead that knits in effort will smooth without your smoothing. The chest will unlearn its armor. You will notice a simple absence of hurry, a quieting that is not sleep but alert rest. You will forget for a few breaths to consult the condition, and in that gap, fear loses its title. You will not have a sign in lights. You will have less noise. The shepherd leads, and you discover you are not tugging the rope. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Do not make a project of these two words. Use them as you would a key once to open, and then live in the room. If, in the first moments, thoughts tumble and beg to be heard, do not answer them. If they posture this bill, this pain, this deadline, do not salute. Say within, God is. Then wait 30 seconds, a minute, 3 times is a poor measure here. Wait until the engine of personal doing winds down, until you no longer want to tell God the news. When the urge arises to repeat the words as if repetition were power, be very firm. Thought is not power. God is power. The words have done their part. Let the Spirit give life to the letter you set down. In the midst of your day, the phone will ring with an urgency, an email will shout in capital letters, the body will offer its complaint. Do not race them to the finish line. Excuse yourself inwardly by one step. Hold those teeth together. God is, then silence. 5 seconds of true stillness are more creative than 5 hours of managing shadows. Take no thought for your life, do you remember? The Master did not say, take different thoughts. He said, take no thought. And yet he fed, healed, stilled the sea. The Father within doeth the works. Let the Father be the Father. As this becomes your way, prayer ceases to be an event and becomes an atmosphere. You will find yourself pausing before speech, listening before reaching, resting before deciding. The result is not passivity. It is poise. It is the end of vain repetitions and the beginning of communion. God is, then silence. Let that be your 2-step until the silence itself becomes your home and the words are no longer needed to lead you there. And there, without drama, without contest, without proof hunting, you will see what can only appear when we cease from ourselves. The ease of grace, the governance of one power, the quiet law of harmony, doing what only it can do. Day 1 is simple and exacting. Withdraw power from fear. Do not wrestle with it. Do not court it. Do not explain it to God. When fear rises, recognize what it is claiming. There are 2 powers. Refuse the claim. Fear appears as if it had credentials. It arrives with charts, headlines, memories, projections. It presents itself as a strength to respect. Be very firm. It is a suggestion, not a power. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If God is one, there are not 2. As long as you have fear, you are granting power. As long as you grant power, fear appears reasonable. Withdraw the grant, revoke the license, name it nothingness. Do not get clever with fear. Do not argue scripture at it. Stop. Stop. Every argument you make confers upon it the dignity of a second cause. We are not fighting shadows in this work. We are turning on the light and letting the shadow be what it is, absence, not substance. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. The shadow is not a second law. It is only the silhouette thrown by ignorance of presence. God is power. Therefore, there's one power. Fear is not power. It is a rumor without a source. Here is your practice for this day. Each time fear stirs at the bank balance, at the body's message, at a sudden silence on the other end of the line, pause. Do not inhale counsel from the world. Hold those teeth together. Inside, not out loud, say once, God is one. Then a breath later, even simpler, God is. Then stop. 10 seconds. You can count to 10 if you must at first, but soon you will not need to. 10 seconds of true non-consent is more creative than 10 minutes of pious chatter. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions. The Master did not say, overtalk the storm. He said, peace, be still. And it was the stillness that did the work. Do not substitute bright thoughts for dark ones. Thought is not power. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom. Good thoughts will decorate the fear. They will not dissolve it. Return instead to the atmosphere of one power. God is. Then silence. Let the compulsion to fix run its course without your participation. Who by taking thought can add an hour to the day? Who by a more muscular sentence can still the sea? I can of mine own self do nothing. Let the Father within do the works. You will notice patterns. Fear speaks on a schedule, mornings, perhaps, or when you are tired, or when a certain name appears on the screen. Use the schedule for holy purpose. Each time it knocks, do not open the door. Withdraw, not as avoidance, as fidelity. Fidelity to one, power. This is not bravado. It is intimacy with God. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. With thee means here, not approaching from afar. If God is here, what other power could be here? Two presences cannot fill the same space. Either God is or fear is. Choose once and keep choosing. Not with strain, gently, firmly, consistently. You may be tempted to report progress to yourself, to look for results. Let that temptation be another occasion to withdraw power from fear. Results hunting is fear wearing a researcher's coat. It says, prove God before I rest. Reverse it. Rest in God and watch what fear cannot do. You will feel the evidences in absence. Less argument in the chest, fewer rehearsals in the head, a slackening of the jaw. Perfect love casteth out fear, not perfect effort, not perfect phrasing, perfect love. The presence itself recognized casts out the suggestion because the suggestion was never substance. By days in, do not grade yourself. Offer one sentence into our shared altar of consciousness. Here is the moment that tempted me to believe in a second power. Was it a number? A symptom? A voice in memory? Report it not to dramatize, but to name the idol and withdraw consent. Then, even as you type it, let your fingers pause. God is one. God is. Then silence. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. We are not postponing peace to day 7. We are practicing it today by refusing fear, the courtesy of respect. In that refusal, you will discover something sweeter than triumph. The quiet normality of oneness becoming your air. Day 2 asks for the same simplicity, applied in a new place. Yesterday we withdrew power from fear. Today we withdraw power from conditions. Notice the habit. We pray to change weather, to soften a boss, to lift a number, to bend a body, to make a headline kinder, and all the while we leave intact the root belief that conditions govern life. We become lobbyists at the court of appearances. Who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature? Who by anxious bargaining can make one hair black or white? The master said, take no thought for your life. Consider the lilies not as a floral diversion, but as a law. Lilies do not negotiate. They rest in what is. When you negotiate with conditions, you confess 2 powers. You say with your lips, God is one, and with your nerves. But this report, this cloud, this silence in the inbox, which God then sits on your throne. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to reorganize weather, money, or flesh by mental force. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Harmony doesn't come to you because you finally found the stronger thought or the clever prayer. Harmony comes to you by grace. Your prayers will not be strategic memos. Your prayers will be a wordless, thoughtless, inner turning to the very is of God. Here is the micro practice for this day. Choose one condition you keep monitoring: an account balance, a scale, a forecast, the 3 dots that mean someone is typing, a symptom you prod for news. For 1 minute, stop checking it outwardly and stop checking it inwardly. Enter thy closet, shut the door of the lips and the door of the mind. Hold those teeth together. Place your hands open on your knees. Say once within, God is, then silence. Do not help God. Do not peek. Do not ask the condition if it approves of your faith. Rest 1 full minute in the atmosphere of one power. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it is. Let that minute be a holy minute. Repeat it whenever the old habit reaches for the knob. Understand, this is not passivity, it is obedience. You will still answer the phone, send the letter, carry an umbrella, keep an appointment, but you will not crown conditions as authority. The shepherd leads. You do not tug the rope. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Action will arise without the grit of fear in it. You will find you are doing the same human footsteps, yet from a different altitude. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask. Treat God as omniscience, not as a clerk who requires your report of barometers and balances. I knew a woman who refreshed the weather every 7 minutes before an outdoor gathering, pleading in between, please, no rain. She wore out her prayer and wore out her peace. I said, for 1 minute, stop consulting the sky as power. Close the door. God is. She did. Once, then again. In that hush, she lost interest in bargaining and gained interest in being present. The clouds did what clouds do. Grace did what grace does. The afternoon carried on without her managing it. She discovered the secret is not sunnier weather. The secret is unbroken oneness. Goodness and mercy followed her, not because she chased them, but because she stopped chasing. Today, our altar of united consciousness receives one sentence. Here is the condition. I stopped consulting as a power, and here is the minute I gave to God. Not to Grade, not to boast, to witness that a throne was vacated and the one was acknowledged. When you stop negotiating with conditions, you begin to receive harmony as grace. Be still and know that I am God. God is. Then silence. Let the Father within do the works. Day 3 removes a more polished crown. Yesterday you stopped consulting conditions as power. Today you stopped consulting thought as power. Even the bright thought, the cheerful thought, the theologically correct thought. As long as you believe there is power in a good thought, you are far from the kingdom. Thought is not power. God is power. The mind will insist. But my positive thinking steadies me. It steadies you the way a painted backdrop steadies a stage. The ocean is still the ocean when the canvas falls. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. The sentence God is one can be letter or spirit. If it never passes into silence, it remains letter. Affirming truth can be almost as useless as thinking it, if it never becomes realized consciousness. Notice the subtle bondage. The tongue coats fear with a sugar glaze. It's all working out. I know the universe has my back. I'm choosing abundance. The phrases are not wicked. They are simply powerless. They change the weather inside your head for a moment and leave the sky untouched. Who by taking thought can add a cubit to his stature, can make one hair black or white, can open a door no man can shut, who by brighter affirmations can still the sea. The master said, take no thought. He did not say, improve your thoughts. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to think your way into God. My thoughts are not your thoughts, saith the Lord. Prayer is not your mind performing. Prayer is your mind yielding. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Not let my mind do better tricks, but let the Father within reveal what is. Here is the micro practice. Each time you catch yourself forcing optimism, pressing a smile into the psyche, rehearsing a tidy affirmation to drown the noise, stop, stop, hold those teeth together. Inside, say once, God is one. Then, simpler still, God is. Then silence. Do not supply a sequel. Do not march in a parade of positive statements. Do not ask your mood if it approves. Be still and know that I am God. 30 seconds will do more as stillness than 30 sentences as performance. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it is. Freedom begins here, not in upgrading thought, but in demoting it until consciousness of God fills the room thought used to occupy. A man told me he braced himself before every meeting with a litany. I am confident. Clients love me. Deals close easily. He called it faith. It was preparation for combat. I said, this time say nothing. Close the door. God is. He did once, then again before the call. Without coaching himself into charm, he found he was not the performer entering a ring. He was a branch abiding in the vine. The conversation loosened its armor. What needed to be said was said without push. He could not explain the calm because he did not manufacture it. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. The shepherd led. He did not tug the rope of his own mind. Let humility be your method. When the compulsion to polish your inner weather appears, kneel inwardly. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Say it once, then be quiet enough to let the Father be the Father. Today, at our shared altar, bring one sentence. Here is where I noticed myself trying to think my way into peace. And here is the moment I stopped and let God be God. Not to grade, to witness the demotion of thought and the restoration of presence. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. God is one. God is. Then silence. Day 4 turns our gaze from the theater of our own thinking to the people we imagine we must fix, persuade, or carry. Notice how quickly love becomes labor when we accept separation as fact. We say, I must help him. And at once we take on the posture of the doer, the bridge, the go-between. We become clerks, moving spiritual supplies from a full warehouse to an empty shelf 3 doors down. Who appointed you courier of God? Who by taking thought can move the infinite along a wire? Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to transport grace. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within doeth the works, not across a distance, not in response to your dispatch, by being what he is everywhere at once. Here is the principle that ends the burden. God and the practitioner and the patient are all one. There is no gap to cross, no outside to reach. In him we live and move and have our being. I and my Father are one, the Master prayed, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me and I in thee. If God is one, all that truly is must be within that oneness. Two presences cannot occupy the same space. Either oneness is the fact, or separation is a myth. As long as you believe that your loved one stands outside the circle, your anxiety confesses 2 powers, God and not God, and your prayers become errands. Stop. Stop. Do away with formulas that imply distance. Do away with treatments that dramatize a sender and a receiver. True prayer is not a transaction. It is recognition. You have noticed the habit. We send light. We hold space. We fashion eloquent affirmations as if wording could bear God from here to there. The busier we become, the more we enthrone the picture of absence. Who, by repeating finer phrases, can create a presence that already fills all presence? Who, by mental mail, can improve omnipresence? Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. Not arriving, in the midst. Presence is the middle, the circumference, the ground. Your work is not to push. Your work is to witness. Take the micro practice. Choose one person you worry about, a child, a partner, a friend in pain, a stranger in a headline. Enter thy closet. Shut the door of the lips and the door of the mind. Hold those teeth together. Let your tongue fall out before you talk to God. Place your hands open upon your knees. Once within, say only this: God is one. Then, simpler still, God is. Then, silence. For 60 seconds. Refuse to picture this one as outside God's being. Do not envision their symptoms. Do not rehearse their story. Do not try to send anything. Be still and know that I am God. Treat God as omniscience. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. Your asking is the turning, not the telling. What will you notice in that minute? Not fireworks, not a voice dictating instructions. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it is. You will feel the machinery of rescuing lose its engine. A slackness comes to the jaw that had braced to carry the world. The chest that argued for outcomes eases. You lose interest in improving appearances and gain interest in abiding in that atmosphere. The shepherd leads both you and the one you love without tug or technology. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Strength for what? For non-interference. for resting in the law of oneness until the appearance aligns with fact by grace, not by your pressure. I knew a mother who texted prayers as if they were flares to guide a son through fog, hourly, daily, aloud, in capital letters. She was weary with love. I said, for 1 minute, stop sending help. Close the door. God is. She did. Once in the morning, once at noon, once at dusk. The boy did not receive a package from afar. He moved within the same presence she finally honored. The call came later, not with drama, only with the ordinary voice of harmony reappearing. She could not trace causation through her words, because there were no words to trace, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit. This day, do away with intermediaries. Let go of being the bridge and discover there is no river. If you must speak at all, let it be to surrender. Father, I can of mine own self do nothing. Be thou the light. Then hold those teeth together. Remain until the urge to fix falls away and the fact of oneness fills the room. At our shared altar of consciousness tonight, offer one sentence. Here is what changed when I stopped sending help and instead rested in oneness, not to grade, to witness. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty for the one you love and for you who love them with such labor. God is one. God is. Then silence. And in that silence, the Father within doeth the works. Today we face a faithful accomplice of fear and thought, the tongue. Under pressure, it does not wait to be asked. It runs ahead of grace. It bargains. It explains. It pleads. It repeats. Please, please, please. As if multiplying syllables could make a path into omnipresence. It drafts terms. If only you will, I will. It narrates the entire case history to an omniscience that needs no briefing. Notice the impulse and name it, begging, and hear the instruction without embroidery. Do not go on with vain repetitions. Stop. Stop. The end of begging is the beginning of communion. Ask yourself, who are you trying to persuade? Are you moving love to be loving? Are you informing the light that it should shine? Are you instructing the shepherd where the lamb is? Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to improve God. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. True prayer is not the tongue performing. True prayer is the soul receiving. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions, not fewer repetitions, not prettier repetitions. Use not, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know, not be eloquent and hope. Here is the discipline for this day. A fast from asking for 24 hours. Let no request leave the heart or the lips. Not one. No, please do. No, make it. No, give me. No vows to sweeten the request. Your practice is recognition and silence. Enter thy closet. Shut the door of the lips. Hold those teeth together. Let your tongue fall out before you talk to God. Place your hands open on your knees as a sign that you clutch nothing and demand nothing. Within, say once, God is one. Then simpler, God is. Then silence. 30 seconds. A minute. 3. Let the impulse to ask rise and pass like wind past a tree. The branch does not chase the wind. Be still and know that I am God. Let that be a lived pause, not a line in a book. You will meet the reflex quickly. The tongue will twitch. The mind will compose drafts. Just this one thing. Just this emergency clause. Stop, stop, The more words you stack, the taller the Tower of Babel becomes, and the farther you climb from communion. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet the presence is. Yield to that is. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Your silence is not passivity. It is consent for the Father to be the Father. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, not strength to pry open outcomes, strength to refrain from interference. What will you notice when you refuse to beg? First, a kind of trembling, as if the interior machinery misses its noise. Then a softening. The jaw that had worked a prayer mill slackens. Breath settles into a rhythm, uncoached by need. You begin to feel received instead of performing. A warmth that is not sentiment appears not heat, but a sense that the room is already occupied by what is trustworthy. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Want is the tongue's engine. Recognized sufficiency turns off the ignition. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the compulsion to speak as if speaking were power. A man told me he had worn grooves in his floor, pacing the same plea for his work. Open the door, open the door, open the door. He was tired of his own voice. I said, fast from asking. Close the door of your lips. God is. He did morning, noon, and evening. He could not trace a line from his silence to the shift that followed, but the atmosphere changed. Conversations unfolded without his prodding. He discovered something truer than a direct answer. He discovered he didn't need to beg for what presence already is. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. If you slip today and a request escapes, do not punish yourself. Stop. Return. God is one. God is. Then silence. We are not grading. We are consenting. Tonight, offer one sentence into our shared altar of consciousness. Here is what I felt when I stopped asking and started receiving. Not the story of outcomes, the texture of communion. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. The end of begging is the beginning of communion. God is one. God is. Then silence. And in that silence, the Father within doeth the works. Day 6 turns our practice from emergency measures to ordinary acquaintance. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. Not acquaint thyself with him when the siren wails. Not acquaint thyself with him when the number drops. Not acquaint thyself with him when the body shouts. Acquaint thyself. Make oneness your air, not your ambulance. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. The shepherd is not summoned by a flare. The shepherd is the landscape of the flock. When God is one, oneness is not a tactic. It is a way of being. You know the difference. In crisis, we run to the closet like a fire alarm. We pound on heaven's door. We plead. We fix. We reach. Then, when the weather clears, we go back to dualism as our daily climate. That is why harmony seems intermittent. The scripture says, pray without ceasing. How? By making prayer an atmosphere, not a paragraph. By making God is the climate in which you cook breakfast, answer emails, tie your shoes, and cross the street. The kingdom of God is within you, not as an event to be scheduled, but as a presence to be worn. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty, dwelleth, lives there, does not camp there on weekends. So here is the simple schedule that turns truth into weather. 3 pauses. Morning, before the world places its hand upon your shoulder. Midday, when the machinery of doing hums the loudest. Night, before you let go of the day's name. Each pause is 60 to 90 seconds. Enter thy closet. Shut the door of the lips and the door of the mind. Hold those teeth together. Place your hands open on your knees. Within, say once, God is one. Then, simpler still, God is. Then, silence. Do not help. Do not decorate. Do not peek at the phone. Do not peek at your mood. Do not peek at God. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet it is. Treat God as omniscience. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. Expect resistance. The mind will protest. Nothing happened. It will check for gooseflesh, for halos, for a thunderclap of bliss. It will grade the minute. Stop. Stop. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Seeds sprout without applause. Ye know not how. The Spirit giveth life. The letter is only escort to the door. Be very firm in your understanding of your own inadequacy to produce spiritual weather. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. Your work is fidelity, not fireworks. Keep your appointment. Let the realization be as undramatic as breathing. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. If you miss a pause, do not turn the pause into law and yourself into a transgressor. Return. Take the next minute. God is not met by your punctuality. God is. Yet honor your appointments as you would honor a beloved. A minute seems small until you give it wholly. Then it opens like a gate over days and weeks. Those 3 minutes will not add up. They will multiply. The climate of God will spread between the pauses until it feels strange to leave it. As strange as holding your breath when air is present. You are not practicing alone. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. If there are 10 righteous, the city is spared. There are more than 10 among us. Your morning minute steadies another's noon. Another's night covers your dawn. This is not metaphoric kindness. It is law. Consciousness is one. God and the practitioner and the patient are all one. As united realization deepens, fear finds fewer places to lodge, not because we shout it down, but because the atmosphere no longer consents to a second power. Let the pauses find their way into the seams of your day, the elevator that dings, the kettle's first whisper, the red light that holds you small sanctuaries for the 2-word treatment. God is. Then silence. When conversation ends and you reach for the next opinion, stop. When you finish a task and stretch for the next accomplishment, stop. Not to become sluggish, to remember who works, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Tonight, at our shared altar of consciousness, bring one sentence. Which pause was hardest, morning, midday, or night? And what did it reveal about your habits of reliance? Was it the reach for news? The reflex to perform? The weariness that prefers entertainment to presence? Not to judge. To witness where a second power still tries to live rent-free. Then, even as you offer that sentence, pause. God is one. God is. Then silence. Oneness becomes effective when it becomes ordinary. Let it be your default atmosphere, not your last resort. Wake into it. Work within it. Sleep under it. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Acquaint now thyself with him and be at peace. God is one. God is. Then silence. And in that silence, the Father within doeth the works. Day 7 is not a finale. It is a seeing. We have moved quietly from words to silence, from striving to grace, from the nervous confession of two powers to the simple acknowledgement of one. We began by naming fear nothingness, by refusing to negotiate with conditions, by demoting thought, by retiring intermediaries, by ending the tongue's pleading, by making oneness our weather. Today we look back not to count results as the world counts, but to witness what has ceased to govern. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me doeth the works. That confession is no longer a posture for class. It has begun to be your manner of living. What is evidence in this life? Not the instant rearrangement of every surface, not always the storm ending at your command or the fig tree leaping to bloom for your convenience. Evidence is this: fear speaks and is not believed. Fear parades and is not obeyed. Fear arrives and finds no throne. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. A sound mind is not a louder mind. A sound mind is a quiet consent to one power. The quiet change is this: when fear tugs, your hand does not move to the lever. When fear whispers, your tongue does not echo. When fear paints its pictures, you do not frame them. Be still and know that I am God. Take honest inventory, not to grade yourself, to witness a new governance. Where did you react less this week? Where did you refrain from the quick judgment, the swift defense, the rehearsed control? Where did your lips close sooner and your listening open wider? Where did you refuse to check the condition for permission to rest? Where did you stop coaching your mood and sit down in God? Did you find one conversation in which you did not manage the outcome? One moment in which the headline did not draft your prayer? One decision that rose without the grit of hurry? These are footprints of liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Today's discipline is the simplest of the week. Watch what fear can't do. When it stirs, do not argue, do not decorate, do not perform treatments. Stop. Enter thy closet if you are in a crowd. Enter inwardly. Hold those teeth together. Place your hands open upon your knees if you can. Say once within, God is one. Then simpler, God is. Then silence. Look, not at the picture that frightened you, but at the impotence of fear in the presence of acknowledged oneness. Notice, it cannot pry open your mouth to beg. It cannot divide you into a sender and a receiver of God. It cannot turn thought into a power you trust more than presence. It cannot make you consult a condition as authority. It cannot enter the secret place. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The shadow of the Almighty is not vacant real estate. It is an occupied refuge. Fear cannot furnish that room. It cannot even find the door. You may say, but the circumstance has not yet changed. Who, by taking thought, can set the timetable of grace? The seed is in the ground. Do you dig it up to see if it has learned its lesson? The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Evidence here is a new center of gravity. It is the ease with which you drop the rope in a tug of war you no longer recognize. It is the discovery that peace no longer follows improvement. Peace stands first because God is first. Perfect love casteth out fear. Perfect love is not sentiment. It is the awareness of one presence, one power, one life, God as the is of all that is. Do not close your book at day 7. 7 days is a consecration. not a conclusion. Carry this into a long while of realization. Keep the three pauses as you would keep breath. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Pray without ceasing, not by talking without ceasing, but by consenting without ceasing. Let God is remain the climate into which every task, every message, every rest is welcomed, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. We do this not alone. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. If there are 10 righteous, the city is spared. Keep checking in. Offer into our shared altar of consciousness one sentence tonight. Here is what fear could not do when I acknowledged God as the only power. Your realization blesses more than your own household. It spreads like quiet weather over streets you may never walk. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God is one, God is. Then silence. And in that silence, the Father within doeth the works. For the next 30 days, let us make a simple rule of life so ordinary that it becomes breath. 1 minute of stillness every morning before the world asks you to be anything at all. 1. Stop whenever urgency to fix rises at the sink, at the screen, in the meeting, at the red light. That is all, not as a stunt, as consent. Enter thy closet. Shut the door of the lips and the door of the mind. Hold those teeth together within. Say once, God is one. Then simpler, God is. Then silence. You are not trying to start God. You are acknowledging what is. Be still and know that I am God. Keep the 3 pauses. If they have begun to carry you, they are a kindness. But for this 30 days, keep without fail that one inviolate minute at daybreak, and keep that one stop each time the engine of fixing revs. The stop is your rescue from the worship of second powers. When urgency shouts, do something now, you place 1 grain of consent on the side of oneness. You cannot see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, smell it, or think it, and yet the atmosphere changes, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Guard yourself from the sly relapse into technique. The mind will try to make a method out of mystery. It will count breaths, measure results, invent a scale from 1 to 10, collect mantras as if charm could usher grace. Stop. Do away with adornments. Do away with formulas that displace God with procedure. The 2-word treatment is not a talisman. It is a doorway. The healing is the silent consciousness behind it. If you catch yourself improving the method, return to simplicity. God is one. God is. Then silence. Have courage to be honest. If you doubt, do not cover doubt with words. Do not borrow another's conviction and paste it over your hesitation. Start clean. Be still enough to discover whether the truth will reveal itself without your makeup. Have enough courage, if necessary, to doubt that God is. Then hold still and let the I am answer for itself. My thoughts are not your thoughts, saith the Lord. Your doubts are not disqualifiers. They are places where the light wishes to be acknowledged. Bring them into the closet and say nothing. The Father within doeth the works. Re-anchor your identity each morning before you move into names and tasks. As long as God is, I am. Not I as a personal proprietor of life. I as expression. In him we live and move and have our being. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. You are not the battery that must hold a charge. You are the branch abiding in the vine. Life is not your possession. It is God's self-revealing. When this is your standpoint, activity proceeds without strain because you are not creating outcomes. You are consenting to presence. Let liberty be your sign, not spectacle. Liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from compulsion to explain yourself. Liberty from hurry masquerading as responsibility. Liberty from the tongue's begging. Liberty from thought enthroned as power. Liberty from intermediaries and the habit of rescuing. Watch for small liberties. The ease with which you put down your phone when fear tries to pull you into headlines. The softening of the jaw before you reply. The willingness to leave a problem unargued for 1 minute while God is honored. These are not small at all. They are the footprints of the kingdom that cometh not with observation. For 30 days, 1 minute every dawn. For 30 days. 1. Stop whenever urgency presses. If you miss, do not dramatize the miss. Return. God is not met by your perfection. God is. Offer, in our shared altar of consciousness, 1 sentence each evening, if you will. Here is the liberty I noticed today. Not to grade, to witness. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Carry forward this one discipline, daily realization, until oneness is not a practice, but your consciousness. God is one. God is. Then silence. And in that silence, the Father within doeth the works.